Lesson 2, Composing an Original Percussion Loop. So we'll cover why you would make your own percussion loop, how you would do that, the requirements for assignment 2, and then I'll do a demo of assignment 2. Then we'll learn how to name your project, how to submit your assignment, and then we'll go over everything again. Now when you have the PowerPoint, remember you can click any of these sort of orange underlined parts and it'll bring you straight to that slide. So why would you make your own percussion loop? You can use the Patterns Beat Maker in Soundtrap to make any sort of beat that you want. Now, using loops is great and everything, but those aren't original to you. You can sell anything you make with them, you can really do whatever you want with the loops, but if you want something to be a little more personalized, you'd make your own beat. You can customize the rhythm, you can customize the sounds that you're using, the different instruments that are actually within your beat. You can match it to your melody, you can match it to your bass, so everything sounds really great together. It just lets you really do things a little more customized. Now, how do you make your own percussion loop? Here are 7 steps on how to do it. It looks really complicated. It is not complicated at all. This slide will be in the PowerPoint. I'm going to go over to Soundtrap now so I can actually show you how to do that live. So, here we go. We're going to go to Soundtrap. You're going to log in. And you're going to get to your home page. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to start a new project by hitting Enter Studio. After I do that, I'm going to hit Music, not Podcast. Great. So now I'm back in the studio. I'm going to go straight to the Patterns Beat Maker to make my own beat. If I click on that, it brings up this grid. Now if you see 1 and 2 here, that just means you're going from here, measure 1 to measure 2. This is really spread out. This is really, really close together. All that is just kind of zooming in on it. Now, sometimes when you open this, you will not see 2 here. You'll just see 1 grid, 1 measure of grid. That's fine too. I'm just going to be working with 1 measure of rhythm right now, so it doesn't really matter. Now, when you open the Patterns Beat Maker, you'll see this giant grid. This grid is separated into 4 beats, and then each beat is separated into 4 micro beats. So here's beat 1, here's beat 2, here's beat 3, and here's beat 4. There's a big gap in between each beat. And then these tiny gaps between these squares are just micro beats. And because we have 1 beat divided by 4, each little square is a 16th note. So now, if I click these things, you can hear it. I'm going to turn that down because that was really, really loud. But if I play it, it's just going to go forever. Sometimes when you play it, it'll loop over and over. Mine is not currently set to do that. So what we need to do is turn on the cycle. Remember, you can either click this purple bar or you can hit the cycle button over here. If it's purple, it's on. If it's gray, it's off. Now, I just want to hear measure 1 over and over and over. So I am going to make sure I can do that. Adjust cycle end, click it and drag it over just so it's only measure 1. There we go. Now it should loop it over and over. Nice. Let me turn that down a little more. Okay. Now, everything that is lit up is going to actually play. So right here I have 5 kick drums and then it comes back later. Let's listen for that. Yep, cool. Alright, so that's how that works. This dot will go along these unlit dots right here, and anytime it passes one of these squares that's lit up, it'll play that instrument. So that's my really crazy beat that I made by just kind of randomly clicking and dragging. Here's how you'd make a really, really, really basic beat. Now, the front of each grid is the beginning of the beat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go kick on 1, snare on 2, kick on 1, snare on 2. That's going to just go back and forth. Really simple. If I want to make it slightly more interesting, I'm going to add a hi-hat every 8th note. So on beat 1, beat 1.5, beat 2, beat 2.5, etc. This will give you a sort of disco beat. A little cheesy, but I like it. Now if I wanted to make this a little more interesting, I'm going to turn that down a little more. If I want to make it a little more interesting, I'm just going to add a few extra things here. Let's try this. It's already better. There we go. It's already better. not too bad. Alright, so then I've made a beat. I'm okay with it. Now, let's say I want to add another instrument in there. I want toms or something like that. I can click down here, hit add, and it'll give me all these extra things I can do. I'm going to add, let's say a ride cymbal. And so you'll see ride a couple times, ride. All that means, a ride cymbal is a big cymbal. The bell is a little dome on top of the cymbal, and that's going to give you less of a sound and more of just a ding. I want that. So I'm gonna just have that on every beat. Let's see what that sounds like. Can you hear it? No, I can't hear that. Alright, so maybe not the ride cymbal. Let's add a regular ride cymbal. That's way too intense for me. I really want a cowbell, but I don't see that. Let's try rim shot. I kind of like that. I think it's going to get old real fast, so I'm going to simplify it a little bit. Let's do this. That's still too much. I'm just going to keep it. You know what? I'm getting rid of it. I don't like it. Anyway, that's my beat. I'm happy with it. I don't want to do anything too crazy right now, so I will just stop it, and then now, to get out of here, I hit this X. Don't worry about hitting this X. Anything that's here will already be in there. And there it is. That's our beat. Now, I want my piece to be a little longer than one measure, so I'm going to click the top right corner, drag it over, and I'm going to loop it. Your project doesn't need to be any sort of length. It could be one measure long. It's going to be boring if you do that, but you could do it. I'm going to make it 8 measures long. That's a pretty standard set right there. Now, if I wanted to change that instrument, if I didn't want that sort of electronic kit, I could click this over here, the show instrument. And then if I click over here where it says machines vanilla, that's the name of the kit. It's a drum machine, and vanilla is the actual name of the machine. Let's say I wanted something a little more natural. I could go to drum kits. You don't have a ton of options, but you do have 3. Now it should sound a little more real. Yes. It's a little busy, but I'm into it. Okay, cool. So that is how you make a basic beat. Now, like I said real quickly, you are able to loop tracks. I set it for assignment 1, I set it for assignment 2, but let's go slightly into detail. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to hover your mouse over the top right corner of a loop, and it's going to bring up this actual loop symbol, this curvy little arrow. When you click it and drag it to the right, it'll loop your sound over and over and over. You can only do this to the right. You can only go this way. You can't go to the left. If you wanted this to start early, you would actually have to drag this over and then loop it again. Now, if you try to loop your thing, and this symbol comes up, that's your adjust end symbol. What that does is it cuts off or uncuts off certain parts of your music that you have already had. If you do that on a 1 measure loop, it'll actually make a bunch of blank space, and we don't want that. If you've looped something already and you adjust those ends, it's going to really mess up your loop. So I highly suggest never, ever, ever doing that. So let's go back to the piece I've been doing. So here's the loop button up here. Notice how it got real curvy. That means I'm looping it. Now, let's bring it back to 1 measure. If I were to adjust the end right now, all it would do is add a bunch of blank space. Notice that there's nothing here. That means there's no music. Nothing there. That is not looping. That's just adjusting the end. Now, if this was a really long loop and I would adjust the end, I cut some of it off and then redrag it, it would be there again, but that's not what we're doing. You can also adjust the start, but that's just cutting things off. Notice it cuts things off and then they're kind of still there. If I had a loop that I wanted to start earlier and I wanted to go like this, it would just make a bunch of blank space. So we don't want that. We want to just loop it, and I'm going to loop it to measure 9. Assignment 2, composing a percussion loop. Your goal is to compose an original beat accompanied by a melodic loop, a harmonic loop, and a bass loop. Those are things we covered in assignment 1. Check the earlier part of this video to find that. And then you're going to title your assignment by titling it basically the same way, just assignment 2 instead of assignment 1. And you're going to submit it by adding me as a collaborator. So here is my demo project. I'm not going to play it this time. I'm just going to let you listen to it if you really want. In the PowerPoint, I feel like it'll be a lot easier for everybody. I'll make the video a little shorter, and the last one was really, really, really loud, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, if you go to my Soundtrap, you'll also be able to find it by going to finding me on Soundtrap and then going to my public projects, and it should be called Assignment 2 Demo by Mr. Weatherly. I'm going to continue doing my project live that I was doing before, so let's go to that. So here's my project. Right now, I'm gonna title it Assignment 2. We're gonna call it whatever, because I don't know what it's called yet, by Mr. Weatherly. That's how you have to title your assignments, and then you'd add me as a collaborator by hitting this button. Remember that when you type my name, 2 people will come up. Me, you'll see this picture, and then this dude. He's not me. He's an imposter. So anyway, I've already got my original percussion loop that I've made. I'm going to retitle it actually, original percussion loop. Perc loop. That's going to let me know when I look at your project that that is your intention, that this is your original percussion loop. You don't have to do that. I would suggest doing it just to make it easier. You don't want to lose credit because you wrote a percussion part and I can't find it. So I've got that. Now I need a melodic loop, a harmonic loop, and a bass loop. This beat's really busy. I'm going to slow it down a little bit, see what that does. If I want to slow it down, I've actually got to go down here to where it says tempo. 120 is a pretty fast tempo. Slight adjustments are going to make big differences, so I'm going to put it to 100, and let's see what that does. I like that. Maybe I can make it slower. What's slower going to be like? Let's see. That's too slow. Let's do 100. I make a lot of my projects at 100. I'm not sure why. But anyway, here we go. Now, let's start with the bass. Drums and bass go really well together, so let's go bass first this time. Let's see what the 808.1 sounds like. I like that, but it doesn't quite fit. I've got acoustic drums, so I have a feeling acoustic bass is going to sound pretty good. That might work. It's a bit sad and slow. No way. Never use that. Let's do that. That's a bass guitar, so that's going to sound good. Now I'm not going to rename that. It already says bass there, so if I were looking at it to grade it, I would already know that that's your bass part. Let's see what they sound like together. Oh, I like that. Sounds like the beginning to an old rock song. Cool. Alright, so I want to go back to the beginning of my track, so I'm going to hit this button right here. Cool. Alright, so I've got percussion, I've got bass, now I need melody and harmony. Let's go melody this time. Oh, I don't want to search melody, nothing's going to come up. Let's see, if I'm doing an old rock song, I feel like that's what's emerging. Let's do guitar. Where'd guitar go? There it is. Alright, so as I'm looking through loops, you'll notice that some of them will say things like EM and GBM. That just means E minor, since it's a lowercase m, and G flat minor. You'll also find sometimes that it'll have a capital, or no, it won't have a capital M, it'll just say D. This means D major. Now these loops are in particular keys. If you look down here, I'm currently in the key of E minor. That's because when I dragged this in, it happened to be in E minor, so it made my whole song into E minor. When you're finding loops to add to something that already has a key, you either want to find one that has the same thing, another E minor, just like this one right here. That would sound great with it. Or you want to find something that has no chords on it at all, like this one. This sounds like my bass part already. I'll probably go for that one. But anyway, if I were to add something like this one, power chord C or D, it's going to sound a little funky. Let's hear what that sounds like, actually. Yeah, this part in particular is just playing one big C chord. I don't want this part. That part's boring. Goodbye. Let's hear this one again. That's gonna sound good. Ooh, I like that way better. Okay, let's add this in here. So I've got my bass, my percussion, and my... Oh, actually, that's harmony. I said I was looking for melody, but that's a harmony, because that's playing chords. Part 2. I'm going to rename this one Harmony because I think I could get something a little more interesting. Elec, guitar, riff 1, because I'm probably going to want to find that later. Oh, I think it's riff 2 actually. Yeah, it's riff 2. Let's go back and rename that. Cool. Alright, and now I'm going to stick with guitar and see if I can find something cool. That is cool, but not what I want. I like that. It's not really gonna fit. We're going for very much like rock and roll sound right now. Baritone. That's a bass part. Ooh, yeah, it's a bass part. That's a melody part, definitely. No chords in there, just a sort of catchy line. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Throw that in there. I'm going to name this melody just so that when I show it to my teacher, he'll know what it is. Black Dust 2. Alright, I'm going to drag that to the top just because, no real reason, but I like to stay organized. Cool. Let's see what all that sounds like together. I think that sounds pretty cool. I'm into it, so I'm going to save my project. Remember, you got to save constantly. Then I would go over here and add me as a collaborator. That's me. I'm good already. Remember, you can add me at any point to your project. You can do it right at the beginning, just so I know you're doing it, or you can do it right at the end. Doesn't matter. So that's mixing. It doesn't really matter because we're not downloading these. We're just sharing them. But I have a completed project right here. I've got a melody loop that I did not write. I've got a harmony loop that I did not write, a bass loop that I didn't write, and my original percussion loop that I did write. Sounds pretty thoroughly good. It's sort of rock and roll, but it's kind of edging towards 80s, 90s sound too with that melody part. Okay, so naming your projects. Just to go over it again because it's really important. Remember, I'm going to be getting 100-something projects every 2 days, and they keep them organized. You gotta name them like this. You're gonna name assignment 2 as assignment 2. Then you're gonna title your song whatever you want. Then you're gonna say by your first and your last name. So, for example, my demo in the PowerPoint is assignment 2 Jazz Hop Swing by Christopher Weatherly. After I do that, I need to submit my project, and I do that by adding me as a collaborator. Remember, this dude, not me. Don't pick him. Look for me. Look for my little doggy. Cool. And here's your assignment. You will compose an original percussion loop accompanied by a melodic loop, a harmonic loop, and a bass loop. You need to title your project like I just went over. It's here again with the same example. You'll submit it by adding me as a collaborator. And then if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, email me or hit me up on the Microsoft Teams chat. Remember, you can click any of these loops and it'll bring you to the part of the slide that it's referencing. And yeah, so for example, if you kind of forgot what a melodic loop is or a harmonic loop is, just click it. It'll bring you back all the way to this slide from the first part of the slideshow. You should definitely have the slideshow as a reference as you're doing all this stuff. It'll make your life way, 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 way easier. So I highly recommend you doing that.